You're saying my sons have 1 week. Ethan's voice cracked, echoing off the marble walls. The doctor's eyes dropped. I'm sorry, Mr. Ward. There's nothing more we can do. The door closed behind him with a sound that felt like the world ending. Ethan stood motionless in the grand hallway of his mansion, suit immaculate, heart in ruins. His hands trembled as he pressed them to his face. Money had always solved everything, until now. Down the corridor, 3 small figures sat huddled on the rug. Liam, Noah, and Finn, his identical triplets. Heads shaved, eyes dull, skin pale as moonlight. Once they were unstoppable, wild laughter, muddy shoes, endless noise. Now silence. The cruel quiet of children who had stopped believing in tomorrow. Grace Miller stood at the threshold, clutching a tray of untouched food. They haven't eaten again, she said softly. Ethan turned, his tone like a lash. Do you think I don't know that? They're not just sick, she said, her voice calm but steady. They've lost the will to fight. He spun on her. You're the maid, not their doctor. Don't tell me how to save my sons. Grace didn't move. Her hands were trembling, but her eyes didn't waver. Maybe the doctors can't reach where the hurt really is, she said quietly. Sometimes, the heart needs medicine too. Ethan stared at her like she was insane, then turned away, muttering under his breath. What could she possibly know about loss? About watching your legacy fade before your eyes? That night, when the house had gone still, a strange smell drifted through the hall, sweet, warm, nostalgic. Something he hadn't felt in years. Ethan followed the scent to the kitchen. Grace stood there, sleeves rolled to her elbows, hands dusted in flour. On the counter sat a small cake, 6 vivid layers of color stacked neatly, gleaming under the kitchen light. What is this? He demanded. Her eyes lifted to meet his. Hope. He frowned. You think cake is going to fix this? No, she said, sliding the plate toward him. But it might remind them why they should want to live long enough to be healed. Her words stopped him cold. She lifted the cake and walked past him toward the parlor. He followed, unable to help himself. The boys looked up as she entered. Their eyes, once identical sparks of mischief, now mirrored exhaustion. Grace knelt before them, setting the plate between them. Do you know what this is? She asked softly. It's a rainbow. And do you know what a rainbow means? No one answered. It means storms don't last forever. It means light finds its way back. Her voice trembled but stayed steady. One bite. That's all. Let's fight this storm together. For a moment, nothing moved. Then Liam reached out, just barely, his fingers brushing the plate. Noah blinked, his lips parting as if remembering how to breathe. Finn turned his face away, too weak, too afraid. From the doorway, Ethan watched. His throat burned. It wasn't the cake that broke him. It was her eyes, the way she looked at them like they weren't dying, like they were boys worth saving. The first bite was tiny, hesitant. Then another, and another. Grace smiled through tears. That's it, she whispered. That's how the fight begins. Ethan stepped forward, kneeling beside her. For the first time in weeks, the room didn't feel like a tomb. There was sound, soft chewing, a sigh, the faintest hum of a lullaby Grace began to sing under her breath. Later, when the doctors came back, they couldn't explain how the boy's vitals had improved. But Ethan didn't need an explanation. He had seen the moment life returned. The moment light came back through color, warmth, and one woman's stubborn faith. That night, Ethan stood at their bedside, watching his sons sleep with crumbs still on their lips. He looked toward the kitchen door, where Grace's shadow flickered in the glow of the nightlight. Money couldn't buy miracles, but maybe kindness could make them happen. The boys stared at the slice of rainbow cake as if it were some strange treasure dropped from another world. None of them moved. The air felt thick enough to drown in, heavy with silence, until Ethan's low, bitter laugh cracked through it. Ridiculous, he muttered from the doorway. You think a piece of cake can fix what's in their blood? Doctors gave them a week, Grace. A week. You can't fight time with frosting. Grace didn't even glance at him. Her eyes stayed on the boys, fierce and steady. If you believe they're already gone, then they will be, she said quietly. But I don't. A sound broke from the rug, soft, frail. Liam, the eldest, whispered, Why does it have colors? Grace turned to him with the gentlest smile, her voice hushed like she was letting him in on a secret. Because every color means something. Red is strength. Yellow is joy. Green is healing. Blue is peace. Every bite is a promise. You're still alive. Noah blinked slowly. But it hurts when I eat, he said, barely audible. Then just a crumb, she said, brushing his shoulder lightly. Let your tongue taste it. Not for me, for you, for your brothers. Ethan's throat tightened. It was the most his sons had spoken in days. He wanted to move, to speak, to stop himself from hoping, but his body locked in place. Finn, the youngest, clenched his fists. The doctor said we'll die, he whispered, tears streaking his face. We'll die anyway. Grace's voice grew firm, sharper than before. Doctors don't decide when you stop fighting, you do. Do you want to leave your father alone, crying over your beds? Or do you want to show him you're stronger than anyone believes? The words hit Ethan like a punch. His chest burned. He wanted to shout at her, to demand silence. But the sight of his sons, their trembling eyes fixed on her, held him still. Liam's hand reached forward. He broke off the smallest corner of the cake and placed it on his tongue. His face tightened, then slowly softened as the sweetness melted. For the first time in weeks, a flicker, tiny but real, returned to his eyes. Noah followed, shaky and pale, licking a crumb. His lips twitched, the ghost of a smile trying to form. Finn sat frozen, tears falling faster. I don't want to die, he whispered. Grace leaned closer until her forehead nearly touched his. Then don't, she whispered. Don't let the sickness win. Take a crumb. That's your promise to live. With a sudden sob, Finn grabbed a piece and shoved it into his mouth. His brothers gasped, watching as though witnessing a miracle. From the doorway, Ethan pressed his hands to his head, voice cracking. What are you doing to them? Grace looked up, calm and steady. Reminding them they're still children, she said softly. Not patients. Not numbers on a chart. Children. Hours passed. The cake vanished bit by bit, crumb by crumb. Not much, not enough for any doctor to celebrate, but enough to keep them awake, to keep them wanting another tomorrow. That night, Grace sat beside their beds, humming lullabies that sounded like memories. Ethan lingered outside the doorway, tears sliding silently down his face as he listened. For the first time in months, he let himself feel something dangerous, hope. The days that followed blurred together. Grace refused to let them fade again. She cooked brightly colored soups, cut fruit into stars, turned each meal into a small victory. She brewed herbal teas her grandmother once swore could chase away sadness. She told stories about heroes who never gave up, about brothers who found light in the dark. Ethan mocked it at first, called it superstition, nonsense, but every morning he saw a change. The color came back to their cheeks. The light returned to their eyes. On the fourth day, Liam stood up on his own, holding Grace's hand. By the sixth, laughter echoed down the marble halls, soft at first, then louder, truer. And on the seventh day, the day the doctors said they'd die, the boys were running barefoot across the rug, yellow pajamas fluttering as they chased one another in circles. Their laughter filled the house like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. Ethan stood in the doorway, stunned. His chest rose and fell fast, like he was afraid to breathe it away. Grace leaned against the wall, sweat clinging to her temples, her colorful scarf slipping loose. Liam stopped running. He ran to her, threw his arms around her waist, and whispered, "Mom." The word hit Ethan like a thunderclap. He staggered back. His sons, his boys, clung to the maid, the woman he'd barely noticed weeks ago, calling her by the name of the wife who had walked out years before. Tears flooded his eyes, unstoppable. He knelt beside them, placed a shaking hand on Grace's shoulder. "You saved them," he said, voice breaking. Grace's smile trembled. She shook her head. "No, Mr. Ward. They saved themselves. I just reminded them how." For the first time in his life, Ethan Ward bowed his head, not to a business rival, not to a boardroom, but to a maid who had brought his children back from the edge. The triplets held her tighter. The sound of their laughter filled the mansion, no longer an echo of what had been, but the start of something new, something alive. And as the sun dipped behind the glass walls of the estate, Ethan realized he wasn't watching a miracle. He was watching faith, love, and courage, all baked into a single slice of cake.